I'm so proud that A Dog's Life is now sponsored and powered by Antinol. I've given green-lipped muscle to my fur family for over 15 years as part of the precautionary principle as learnt with the College of Integrated Veterinary Therapies. I switched to Antinol's Joint Care Pro a year ago, being so interested in its unique oil-based capsules, especially for Mr. Binks. He's taken greenlip muscle since I rehomed him, aged 11 years ago, to support his long-term joint health, as greenlip muscle is species appropriate and bioavailable. Antinol is backed by 25 years of scientific research. Each 50 milligram capsule simply contains its patented active ingredient, PSCO 524. This is extracted from greenlip mussel. This is the highly concentrated oil that's ethically extracted and contains all known omega-3s, including ETA, EPA, and DHA. Mr. Binks's stride is strong. He's active and happy. His coat is like a mirror, reflecting a healthy metabolism that's supported by this powerhouse of omega-3. So go to Antinol's website today and grab your 10% discount simply using my code AnnaWebb. Hello, I'm Anna Webb, and welcome to A Dog's Life that's powered by Antinol. On today's show, we're talking to singer-songwriter over in America called Skip Ewing about his new song that's called Road Dog. Skip Ewing, welcome to A Dog's Life.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Well, this is amazing. This is a transatlantic recording.
I know, man, technology is amazing, isn't it?
Well, I have to say, you're right. I mean, we launched A Dog's Life just at the start of the pandemic, you see, and we had already recorded a bunch of episodes in real life, as you would.
Mm.
And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and it was constricting, obviously, hugely, with the podcast in many respects, but in others, no, because we've done some fabulous interviews across the pond. In fact, Australia, all over the world, and that would not have been available if Zoom hadn't been invented.
Sure. Well, and it's wonderful too. I think that's indicative of what happens with when we are with our with pets and how animals can bring us together. I mean, it's not just that. If you have people interested all over the world talking about these kinds of things, what a glorious thing that is.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, dogs are just amazing for us, and I think you know that already. But look, tell us about all the dogs in your house at the moment.
Well, and I think that my wife and I live in northwestern Wyoming, and so we live in a little bitty cabin, but we live in heaven. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot. It's great for big dogs because there's lots of room, and however, there's not lots of room in the house, and we tend to just end up taking care of everyone's dogs and horses whenever we can, and we have two large dogs of our own. And so my morning actually today was filled with them deciding that today would be the day that they would romp into the front part of the lake right before this interview. And I was dealing with soaking wet dogs right before I got on the Zoom with you. And tell you what, loving it. They're so happy. They're happy. I love that.
Well, they're happy. I mean, because yes, I heard it. Is it hot where you are at the moment? We're going through a heat wave here in London. What's it like with you? Because cooling dogs down is so important in the heat.
Oh yeah. Well, it's quite comfortable here, actually. Here it doesn't even feel like summer yet. Winter stays pretty cold for us. In fact, we even got a little bit of snow a couple weeks ago, right here where we live. So I don't know. It's right close to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So they're no trouble feeling that cool, but they get out and run. And when we, and especially if I take them hiking, they'll get out and run. And when they're working hard, especially we have a Pyrenees Aussie mix, and so he's really got a lot of hair, and they have many places where they'll go and then lay down in the water as we're hiking or doing whatever to cool off, and then move on. And it's a great environment for that particular kind of thing, and it rarely gets so hot that there's a difficulty with the heat.
Oh, that's good, and that's quite a combination of a dog, actually, an Australian Shepherd mixed with a Pyrenean mountain dog, a very high working drive, to herd those sheep, herd those cattle, maybe even herd some Mustang.
Yeah. And a very kind dog. He's one of those where the whole world is his, but he's there for you no matter what. And our other dog, Holly, she's a shepherd mix. We don't really know. We named her Holly because we drove down to southern Wyoming to pick her up in the holidays. She was the only dog left in the shelter. And we just couldn't do that. We couldn't leave her there. So we went down and got her, thinking we were going to just foster her for the few weeks during the holiday, and ended up keeping her. And she's like she's I don't know, she's one of the fastest dogs I've ever been around, and she just loves it. She loves it here. But that's a lot of dogs in a little house. And then the folks who actually own this historic ranch we live on, they have a great little, I call him a mutt because they don't know what he is. Mutts are great. And now he's staying with us. So there's enough dog activity here for us to have a reality show, I think.
That's so funny. Do they all get on well together?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah. It's hard to have dogs here where they don't all get along because there's really are a lot of dogs, and most of them are very used to other people and other dogs.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds amazing, actually. I've just got this image in my head of sort of mountains in the distance, I don't know, a big lawn and then a lake and then, just land.
Yeah, you just described it. I sometimes say we got fortunate, because I met my wife while I was working with horses full time. I mean, I left Nashville. Of course, I'm a songwriter and a recording artist, but I left Nashville for a while just to study horses. And when I met my wife in Texas, she was once we got together, she was going to go to Houston, and I said, let's just go to Wyoming on faith, because if there's a way for us to be there, then I'd love to be there. And it just all fell into place here. And what you described, what I say is just take the Grand Tetons National Park, if you're familiar with that, and the way you think about Yellowstone, which now many more people are more familiar with, put that in a bucket and pour it in my backyard, and that's where I live. I don't actually live in Yellowstone. An hour and a half from the southern entrance of Yellowstone. But you're right. There's a lake right outside my door, and there's it's a conservation area for bighorn sheep. And I look up at a glacier on a high mountain on the other side of my house, and I can't see my neighbors.
Well, that's lovely to have all that privacy. But what about, wild animals over there, Skip? I mean, we'll get on to the music shortly and everything, but I have lots of questions. I mean, I love the way. So is it your Grand Pyrenees, Pyrenean mountain dogs, what we call them here, but
Mhm.
the Grand Pyrenees mix, the Aussie mix, is that the dog you've named Shotgun?
Yes, that's
That's so
shotgun.
funny.
Yeah, but it's not for, although shotgun fits out here, it's because that's the seat he liked to ride in. And so that's why
Correct.
I named him
Yeah.
shotgun, for the
Well,
shotgun seat. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. My producer, Mike, who's obviously listening right now, said to me before we came on air, Anna, but you see, shotgun, it's an American expression for when you're in the passenger seat.
Hmm.
Because if there is a car accident, the driver will be fine, the people in the back will be fine, but the person in the passenger seat won't be fine. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'll tell you what, well, I'm rarely a passenger anyway, because I normally drive. But yeah, I don't know
Well,
if
now
that's the
see,
same.
I have to say, I have never looked that up. I have never looked up the usage of shotgun for a shotgun seat, but I always thought it was coming from even all the way back when they had like express wagons, like when they would take a stagecoach, because there would always be the person who was driving. the team, and the other person in the front seat, would be the one who could hold a shotgun or something for protection against anything that would happen to this covered or to the wagon. I that's what I always thought that came from a much older thought. And
Oh.
that's why it was called the shotgun seat. But I have to look that up. That's fascinating. I never actually thought to look at that. I just
Well,
made the and I have to tell you, I was looking forward to talking with you because I just enjoy I enjoy like the questions and the insights that you have. It is a treasure to be on this podcast with you.
oh gosh, well, thank you, Skip. I've been a bit nervous actually about it. I'll be honest, because I'm not a muso, and I said to your lovely PR girl before we came on, I was like, will it be all right if I mention Don Woody? And then and so but probably not. But anyway, I have. But anyway, he similarly, okay, has woven in dogs into his repertoire, and that's where we're going here. I mean, I love the way that your current single is called Road Dog, and is that a specific song for one of your dogs, or is it a message about adopting dogs? Because this is something that, particularly in the UK at the minute, I believe everyone should adopt. Our rescues are so super full. It's a terrible shame. And I think it's super that you do adopt dogs. Yeah.
Well, I agree. I think that there are many really wonderful dogs, and circumstances have filled up our adoption centers. So I love to say opt to adopt. Anytime that I have a chance to do that, and all of our dogs we adopt. That's not to say that there aren't reasons to have, purebred dogs or working dogs, especially. But if we have the choice to adopt, then I hope that many will make those choices. And as far as the song goes, dogs and horses are such an integral part of our life. Well, I call them the four-legged part of our family. The four-leggeds are just part of our family, and we think of them that way. So our dogs, of course, are inside, outside. Our horses are with us all the time, but it's a very earthy thing. It's a very grounded effort, and I believe that if you are with animals, dogs, horses too, though, that if you endeavor to understand them and have the kind of relationship that that's possible to have as a human with a dog and with a horse, it's an effort and compassion all the way around. The more you understand about one another, the better you can love one another, and that's with people. But that just goes right back into the reason to adopt. There are so many worthy dogs who need homes, and they should all have a loving home. That's what we want. It can't happen because there's too many, but we can all do our best for that situation. And the way Road Dog happened is I walked out. I'll be very quick about it, but I was writing, and when I write, sometimes I'll just take a number of guitars, and there's a ranch down the road that I'm quite close to, and they have a house that's empty a lot, and so I will just take my guitars down there and put them out and leave them for several days and write. And I did that, and one day I had this little musical idea. I didn't know what to do with it, and I walked out of the house, and I opened my truck door, and I realized that our trucks are dirty out here. I mean, that it's just there's no way it can't be. We live on a dirt road that's almost 10 miles from the main highway, and it's crazy and fun. But I looked in the inside of my truck, and the back seats were up, and I have gray interior, and there wasn't a part of those seats that didn't have white dog hair on them. And no matter how hard you try to clean them, you put them in the truck every day, that's just going to happen. And I'm looking around at the windows, going, there are smudge marks I didn't even know about. That how was I driving with this many on the windows? And I guess you just kind of get so used to it. But I looked at it, I love this. I love my dog. I love that my dog can do this with me. And I went, I wonder how many people in the world are just like, well, you know what? That's some of the stuff that happens, and some of it is just a reminder about how awesome it is. And that seems odd if it's not something that you're used to, but I wouldn't trade all the dog hair and smudges on my windows in the world for and say, well, I don't want a dog. No, man, I want that dog, and I want other dogs, and I love the time that I spend with them, and I love what it brings, the qualities and joy it brings to my life and my wife's life. And so, as I was driving home, I started working on this idea of road dog, thinking that so many people travel with their dogs in so many different ways, whether it's a truck or a car or a plane or a train or even walking, hiking trips. All these dogs go with us everywhere, and it's fun. And I just wrote a fun song about loving a dog, and actually, it's the dog singing, which is kind of fun. And somehow it just caught on. It's getting a bunch of play on radio, and we're just enjoying it.
I love that. I mean, that is it. It's about, celebrating these moments of dog hair, celebrating even the moment when, you pick up your dog's poop. I live in London, so it's very
Sure.
urban and you've got to do it, and rightly so and so on. But that's all part of it. Dogs do bring us so much joy. And I think it's great that you're actually promoting the fact of taking your dog with you, because that involves training your dog to a degree, particularly if you're going on a train, where there's other people, there's certain etiquette you have to follow, no jumping up and settling for a certain amount of time, and these basic boundaries that also create teamwork and build the relationship with you and your dog. I mean, would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And I also believe that when, you know, just like humans, dogs experience the world every day. And if they, for instance, eat the same food every day, have the very same small space to be in every day, I don't know that it's as good for their emotional health and their well-being, their even physical health, the way they think. Because it's my understanding that dogs see a lot of the world by, even by sniffing it. So I imagine that's the same thing with the air. And when we offer our dogs a greater, a more rich diversity of influences that are healthy for them, then how great is it to take them to the dog park or to take them to the beach or take them in a place in the mountains they've never been, to explore and to see and be stimulated. I think all these things are very, very healthy for both humans and dogs.
Oh, yes, I couldn't agree more. But also, for the more urban dog as well, to take your dog with you to a meeting, for example, take them to a cafe where you might meet a friend for a coffee, a different scale of terrain here, but the same principle. But of course, enrichment through using their noses, dogs and their noses, they save people's lives. They can detect cancer, earlier through smelling our breath and our sweat. They can detect cancer earlier than some medics can, which can really save human lives. I mean, they are part of us. We've evolved together for 30 to 40,000 years. Skip, I mean, all this. And what they bring to us, they calm us, they cheer us up, they lower our blood pressure, they trigger oxytocin in our brains just when we lock eye contact with our dog. And dogs in offices can really help promote productivity, interaction. They get lots of attention. They lower our blood pressure. I think dog owners live longer, Skip, than non-dog owners, apparently, according to some study. So I think, yeah, dogs are good for us. And they remind us of the truth, I think. I always say that dogs are the truth. Would you agree?
Well, I think that I know for me that dogs, animals, and horses are a big part of my life. So and I know this podcast is about dogs,
I love
but
horses. I can
yeah,
ride and I have ridden. I'll tell you what, you might be impressed. I've ridden, do you know in India they've got the indigenous horse called a Marwari horse?
I've heard of it, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen one. And I did spend some time in India.
Oh,
Got to see
okay.
some elephants,
Oh,
but I didn't get to see those kind of horses.
Oh, they're amazing. They've got crooked ears, and people say there's this argument between the Arab horses and the Marwari horses as to which is the oldest. Because, I'm sure the Mustang even is perhaps older than the original Arabian horses, but there is all this dilemma as to which one came first. And certainly in India, it's the northern part of India. They're most around in the cooler part. So yeah, I've ridden them 3 times actually in the Rajasthan hills. Don't I sound pretentious?
No,
So
you don't sound
pretentious.
pretentious at all. You sound adventurous. I like that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I hadn't been on a horse actually for over 20 years when we got on. I got on, and yeah, it was okay. Yeah, Maggie, her name was. She was a piebald, and she did buck a bit and everything. And she wanted to remind me, okay, don't, okay, yeah, let's get this momentum right. And I stayed on, so that was the most important thing. And then we did. We broke into a canter at one point. It was really amazing, and went down by a big lake. I love horses. And I would love to meet a real wild Mustang. I know that is something I really would love to do.
You would enjoy it. To see a Mustang in the wild is and especially if they have foals, it's an amazing thing. It's powerful to see them in the wild here.
I
You know,
bet. I mean, are they
yeah.
still there? I mean, are
Oh
they
yeah.
conserved? I mean, can people, yeah, what's the deal with them out there? Do they need help? I mean, what's happening?
Well, in the U.S., there are some places where there are still true wild horses, and from my understanding, they come from Arabians that actually were released in the U.S. after they were brought over here, and this is long ago, conquistadors time. And these herds have stayed wild all of that time. And of course, man has encroached upon uh, the range land because it takes quite a bit of range for a herd of horses, and a herd of horses is a very dynamic thing. It's often more than one herd of horses that are still considered a group. They're still part of one another. It's a very interesting dynamic. And so what's happening though is that as the rangelands are being encroached upon by humans, they're being taken off the land and put into holding, and they're amazingly talented, like amazingly capable, and they have an incredibly diverse gene pool. And so the horses, though, have never been around humans. So the transition between taking a really honestly wild horse and having it become a domesticated horse it's a little more involved journey than maybe taking a foal who was born into captivity and then and working with that horse. So that's what's going on in the Mustang world.
Oh
Uh,
wow. But will they still keep some in the wild, I mean, or is
but
it
we pray we pray they will. We keep losing the land, but right now there are still some healthy herds that are there. I would think of it as a travesty if we lost wild horses, and it would just become, what would happen then is it would just become a concept. It wouldn't be an actual wild horse that you could say, and think of all the idioms. Think of all the ways we use wild horses in so many different songs and poems and pictures. And
Rolling Stones?
yeah, if all of a sudden there weren't any wild horses, it would hurt my heart. I mean, and in America, those are the American Mustangs. And
Hmm.
for me, it's an icon that inspired another icon, which is a Mustang car. That wouldn't even, and everyone knows about that. Even the image, it's just such a powerful, and before we get too far away from your insightful comments a few minutes ago, when we were talking about just how dogs affect us, and you were talking about there being a more urban space where people have dogs, like maybe just to go to the cafe or whatever. I think that as the same thing. Of course, I have the luxury. I have it's a luxury, and like where I live, for instance, there's not really a cafe I can walk to. I can't get a pizza delivered. The mail doesn't come to my house. It's
Do you know
it's
what, Skip? I'd hate it. I don't think I'd survive.
I'm telling you, I love it. I mean, I'm a good cook. My wife is, we enjoy it. But yeah, we're out a good way. I like it for especially for my creative space because it just allows my head and my mind and my musical uh, uh, ability to create. I just have space, and I love that. I think space is love in many ways.
No,
But to,
absolutely. And I
yeah.
love your value of the land and the way you're talking about it, like really
Mhm.
passionate. It's like the Wild West. I'm in a Western at the moment, in a way, and I mean this in the most positive way. I'm seeing some horses running past. They're just looking at us. They're flicking their manes and their tails, and the dogs, they notice them and they're not bothered. They're not going to chase them, of course, because they're not that foolish. So, yeah, the harmony with nature and the animals, it's very appealing. And I was joking a bit about, you know,
Oh no, I was meaning that on purpose because I know that, as we're talking about our dogs wherever they go, because I'll take our dogs when we're not here and we go on the road, or if I'm able to travel when I'm doing music and I can take the pups with us, we will. And have them at the hotel, and we work with them to be able to be very good, to be in a hotel, and to be able to go and relieve themselves using a leash. And these are all things that are helpful for them to know. But what one thing that struck me thinking about your space and maybe, taking a dog to the cafe, it's really good for the dog, but so much of the time, wouldn't you agree that it's great for the people? It's great for other people. How many times do we have our dog and it causes another person to smile? Just because they reflected on it or they like dogs or those feelings, and they offer those to us. Dogs and horses both offer those to us all the time, even just from the image of them. Like, who was it? I'm not sure anyone knows who said it, but for instance, there's an old saying that the best thing for the inside of a man is the outside of a horse. It's, that's a sort of a way of thinking how that kind of beauty can bring us joy. But we walk our dogs down to the cafe or whatever you might do, and other people see them, and it changes the dynamic. And I think more often than not, puts loving energies in the world, puts good energies in the world if we have good relationships with our dogs and share them.
I agree. I honestly, I mean, look, Skip, I'm on your page, but also, it's the way dogs can, they're so adaptable and so smart that they work as assistants dogs. They search and rescue dogs. Dogs that really have a job, a life-saving job every day. Those are, like the heroes of the dog world. But all dogs have this capacity to connect to people, and that's important. I think, particularly, I mean, here we are on Zoom, and it's brilliant, but nothing beats real life communication. And one of my fears of the pandemic fallout is that we're relying too much on technology a little bit now to communicate with people, but very much in a one-dimensional sphere.
I think it's a constant, I think it's a learning experience. I think that technology is just like anything else. Technology is like fire, technology is like water. Too little water, it's not that great, right? Too much water, terrible. The right amount of water, great. Same thing with fire. If there's no fire, that's not good. If there's
No,
too much fire, not good. So it's the same thing with technology, being a balance. And interesting what you were saying about dogs being heroes. One of our dearest friends has a dog who was trained as a diabetes alert dog.
oh,
And I always forget which one is the worst the
it's a
worst
type one.
yeah,
Do
type
you know
one.
what? I know quite a bit about this because there's
Yeah.
a charity here in the UK that kind of really spearheaded things globally. And I was very proud way back in 2006 for a good few years. I launched this charity that was the first charity to prove that dogs could smell the odor of cancer in human urine, and then latterly they have their medic alert dogs, so they can smell
That's
how
brilliant.
the
I love that
it's
they did
amazing.
that. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
and I
was
mean, but honestly, this dog saved this woman's life more than once. And they're both her name. She named her Nurse Addie,
oh,
and she's a beautiful, just a golden lab. She's got it. There's another type of lab, but she's golden. And there's some special thing about her. But the most special thing about her is that she will literally just take her paw and alert her long before anything else would tell her. And the dog is always right. Always
mm.
right. It's amazing. And I hadn't ever been around that that kind of thing. I've been around, other types of service dogs and even police dogs and uh, drug dogs. I've really gotten to be around a lot of things, but not that. And I just thought that was so impressive. It's
It's amazing because it gives people their independence back, And of course, you've got a very, very close bond with that dog, but that shows the power of their sense of smell. I mean, that to
Mm.
me is a dog's superpower, really. I know they can run fast. I know they might be able to bring down a burglar with their teeth or whatever, but it's their sense of smell that I think, we haven't really scratched the surface because we can't imagine it ourselves because the whole structure of a dog's olfactory system is so different from ours. I don't think we can really ever imagine it, but it's extraordinary. And they remember every scent, that they've encountered, and they store it like a computer system. So, which is why dogs have memory, episodic memory, but that's also connected to scent. It's like, oh, hang on, I've been here before. This is a shopping mall. Oh, the last time I was here, oh, I had a bad experience, or something. And it might just put them on a bit more of an alert. So it is really, and it's so fascinating. I couldn't agree more. And just special quirks. I mean, I bet both Shotgun, I love that he's called Shotgun, and Holly, I bet they have their own special little personalities.
Oh, no doubt. And then I was going to mention that to you as well. It's that how I said that I think that learning how to love an animal is an effort in compassion. The more we're able to be present, the more we're able to use our own ears and our own eyes to grow and understand and learn about these beings that we hang out with. The more we can tell what they're expressing. And that taught me a lot, especially working with horses for years and years to understand them because, dogs and cats are predators like we are, but horses are not. They're
Mm.
fight or flight animals. And so they experience the world much differently than we do. They feel pressure differently. They're, what makes them tick is much different than a dog. And so making endeavoring to understand, which we can't ever really understand, but endeavoring to do our best to learn from them, uh, like I said, I believe is a compassionate effort. But if we make that effort, haven't you found? I think almost everyone I've ever talked to has found that the more they have a dog, the more they're with it, the more they understand what's going on without there having to be any words. You begin to understand the language, the just what's happening with their tail, with their ears, with their eyes, with their body, with their energetic level, with their focus, with what they want. And now if you've been with an animal for a while, that animal will tell you that it is hungry or it needs water or it wants to go outside in a way that no one would have ever thought. You just look and you go, you know what we need to do here? We need to help her. And this is what she needs. And I think that is a beautiful thing that we can go, how much does that happen with people? It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. And the more we work on that, the better our relationships everywhere in our lives are, even with ourselves.
It's so interesting. There's a book, I can't remember who wrote it, but it's called Why Animals Make Us Human. And it's on my bookshelf, actually. And it's a fascinating book along these lines. I mean, it is learning, as I say, kind of about the truth, really. And I feel speech, you could call it hot air most of the time. Most people gabble on, probably I'm one of them. Um, and it's, hang on, all right,
I
Anna,
think not.
you finish, Anna, just, you fit it, cut. It's like, you made your point, Anna. So, but dogs, yes, and this whole horse thing, that's something I've not actually thought of. They're flight animals. So interesting. So yeah, of course, everything would be a bit more
Yeah,
different.
well, I mean, and that's the like even if like a really sort of pivotal thing about that when I'm doing a clinic with for horsemanship or we're talking about that. One of the things, for instance, that's so different that we don't think about is dogs have binocular vision. We have binocular vision, but horses have monocular vision, which means they don't see the same thing with both eyes. The left eye of a horse is never going to see its right hip. And the same way the other side. And when you work with a horse, you actually have to help the horse learn something on both sides of its body because of the way it's put together.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah. So, like some people would say, well, you have to get on a horse on the left side. Well, no, you can teach the horse to feel comfortable, accepting a rider from the right side or the left side. The only reason people taught the horse the left side was because most people were right-handed who wore a sword. So the scabbard of the sword was over the person's left leg. So you couldn't throw your leg over if you had it on your right hand. So you had to put your left foot in and
Yeah.
move your right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I've got on a horse, you're right. It is from, I think if I remember, it is, I actually thought it was because most people, I don't know, right-handed. I don't know, so that you're using your left hand to kind of help you get up, but then you've got your right hand ready just to loosely, obviously, hold the rein and kind of straighten. I don't know. Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. I mean, things like that are with a horse, it's really wonderful to start going, wait, why does that happen? And then you ask the question, and when you ask the question, you grow in your understanding. But that's the thing. I think maybe you touched on something that after what I said, because one of the reasons I gave up music for a while and went to study horses was because of what I was learning about myself. By learning through horses, I kept running into things that I could do more skillfully. I kept going, oh, well, I didn't understand that well enough. My understanding of that was not skillful enough to invite this horse to do that with me as well as we could have. So I ended up saying, okay, wait, that's on me. Let's try this again. I've got to get better. And I found that I do that with dogs. And then I just found that it inspired me just as a person, how many places I was offered the ability to grow. And I think that inspiration from animals is one of the reasons why I am so powerfully moved by that. In fact, I have a gratitude for it beyond what I'm able to, to express. And perhaps that's one of the reasons, whether we recognize it or not, that we love being with our animals.
Yeah.
There's and I mean, obviously there's a comfort, but I even heard recently, and I'm going to have to find out where this came from, but it was from a psychological study. But basically, they said that the death of an animal for some people can be more wounding, can be more traumatic than the death of a person they're close to. And
Mm.
and I was like, wow. And I had to find out, why. What was and the reason that they talked about this was the experience of somehow knowing that the animal's gift to them was truly an unconditional love. And people don't always have that feeling about people.
I love this. So, Skip, I say it all the time. I mean, I always say human relationships are all about quid pro quo. It's like you do someone a favor, they do something back, and it's a give and take. You give someone some money and you buy something, and so you've given money and you've got a new jumper or whatever it might be. It's
Mhm.
quid pro quo. Is there true altruism in the human condition? I don't know, but with animals, without doubt, they would put that, well, they do, look at these police dogs, they put their life on the line. I mean, yesterday I was talking about dogs that stop poachers in Africa, okay? And, by Jove, to use a very English old fashioned expression that I haven't said ever before, but they would bring that poacher down no matter what. Even if they've got a gun being fired at them, those dogs would just keep going. And the Malinois dogs in the main, those are highly driven, highly strung dogs that know what their purpose is. But that's a baddie, and that baddie must be brought to the ground until the human can sort them out, and they're not going to kill that elephant at any cost, and that's their job, and they will follow it through. So they know they're in danger, but they will still do the purpose and that makes them happy, because for them some dogs really need a purpose in life, to keep them, particularly a dog like, those the Malinois dogs that
Yeah.
the police, they often don't make the best pet unless you really are an experienced dog owner. And they've become popular actually through the pandemic, which is, not such a good thing. There's a lot in rescue here in the UK at the moment. I don't know, am I making sense of what you've said? Because look, yes, I mean, I grieved more over my first bull terrier, Molly, who passed, in a way than when my mother passed, and it was quite close to each other. But it was, you know, I think relationships with humans are so complicated, so complicated. Whereas a relationship with a dog is pure. There's nothing complicated about it at all. You really, so long as you do right by your dog and fulfill all their needs, exercise wise, I mean, diet wise, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm all about feeding a fresh whole food diet to my dogs. Like, I try and do what I do for myself, for optimum health and longevity, all being
Mhm.
well, Skip.
I just think that all of these things too, the other part is that some people feel more comfortable being with animals than with people. I
Yeah.
When I have done some clinics, there are many times, and I found this happen with women quite a bit, is they felt much more comfortable being with a horse than being in a relationship, with a significant other who might be a guy. They would rather be and felt more comfortable sharing themselves in an environment with their horse. And I completely understand that. It's like when you're around your dog, there's so many things that you don't have to be concerned about. I mean, some of the things that maybe you're carrying around something that makes you self-conscious, or maybe you don't feel skillful enough in your ability uh, to to do whatever everyone's doing together, or even to converse. You don't have that with your animals so much. We feel comfortable. They help us feel comfortable just being in our own skin sometimes, and what a gift that is.
It is. Oh, Skip, look, it is a gift. Gosh, I concur. I think you're brilliant. I love that you say all of this because it is so true. It is so true.
And it's not to say that this it's wrong or right to want to, or to feel more comfortable being in an environment. Thank goodness you have that environment. If you have a horse that you love and you feel great being with, then what a gift. And then I say, then dig into that, figure out why that feels the way that it feels for you, and then see if you can gift the same to anyone else you're with. I think that animals give us the possibility of understanding ourselves, and we can take and we can offer that gift. There's a really he's passed now, but he was an incredible spiritual teacher. His name was Thich Nhat Hanh, and I got to study with him for a little while because I just thought he was brilliant. And one of the things that he said that I spent a lot of time with was that the greatest, this is a paraphrasing, but basically, the greatest gift we can give to anyone is just our presence. Just to know you have my ears, you have my eyes, you have my attention, and I'm here. If you want to talk, we can talk. If you don't want to talk, we don't have to talk. But I am here. That presence is gifted us by so many animals. And as humans, when we realize, wow, what a gift that is, can I work on that? Could I give that to my daughter? Could I give that sort of attention to a podcast so that there was heart and awareness in it, or at least the continuing effort of that? Yes, yes, we can. And that is another place where animals will continue to show us where we can be more beautifully human.
Mm, yes, absolutely. Like dogs know when to rest, horses know when to rest, horses know when to back off a kind of stressful energy, same as dogs. They can smell cortisol rising, so can horses, I'm sure. And they're like, oh no, we don't like a stressed environment. We prefer calm. So they're teaching us to be calm. And I agree completely. Oh, certainly stroking a dog is your own dog is known to release oxytocin, the love drug in our brain. And I'm sure I'm sure it's the same with horses, and cats probably as well. I also love cats, I have to say. They're just like so in tune with the universe. I hear you. I think animals teach us a lot. And I think we've always got a lot to learn. And I think humans need to be humble because animals are ultimately humble. They haven't got anything to prove. They haven't got any stigma. They're just themselves.
Now, I will say that they are just themselves, and that's something else that's lovely. But all of this effort that we make, if we only think of it in one direction as like, what does the dog bring to me? Then it's not as big a chance to have as a skillful a relationship. But when we can sometimes say, what do we bring to one another? I think that's sometimes why people enjoy. There's people who joke around and say, well, if you have an adopted horse or an adopted dog, people will know that first because they'll tell you it's adopted. And yes, okay, but I think that that's a wonderful thing. If you're wanting to make that effort and you adopt something and you can feel that you are able to help, but then if you're proactive in that relationship with the dog, for instance, how can I be better for this dog? Is there something that I could do more skillfully that would help this dog or this cat or this horse or any other pet understand what we're doing here? What because it's continuous. The dog is always learning. In fact, there's a really old saying. It's not mine. It may have come from Ray Hunt, but I'm not sure. He was a horseman, but it was that most horses learn the most from people who don't know they're teaching them anything.
Oh, that's very interesting. Gosh. Yeah, well, again, that's kind of, yeah,
And,
I
and
get
dogs do
that.
the same thing. I mean, dogs do the same thing. Like they watch us, and they learn. And what we allow them to do, they'll allow them. They'll do, and they think they're doing the right thing. And
Well, hopefully, unless, but that's where boundaries come in, because,
exactly,
you do need boundaries. And
but
I
that's
know
where
with
we,
horses, you need
yeah, that's where we
boundaries.
we can be inspired. Again, that's exactly what I'm meaning is like when we look at our own, say, what can I do for this dog? How can I be the best for this dog?
Yes. Well, that's food for thought, or pause for thought, shall we say. And Skip, I love this. I could talk to you for hours, and I want to come to Wyoming now, and I want to ride a Mustang and all these things. But that's very human, right? I'm going, I want. And but maybe if you put out there, it might happen. So listen, tell us all your latest album. Where can people download it and everything?
Sure. Well, the latest album that we have is called The Road to California, and you can find me on all of the socials, and my name is SkipEwing, and so it's just at Skip Ewing, or you can go to skipewing.com, and you can stream the music on anywhere you stream music.
Fantastic. Gosh, I'm going to follow you on Instagram now, and I'm really hoping I'm going to see some photos of Mustangs. So don't tell me, I'm going to find out. So let's please stay in touch
Absolutely.
on all this digital sphere. And, you're more than welcome to come back and chat more, particularly about horses as well. I'd love that. Thank you so much for coming on, my humble podcast. Thank you so much, Skip.
It's lovely, and so are you. And I appreciate the invitation, and I do genuinely hope that we'll be able to talk again.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you so much.
That's our show. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, go on, rate and review the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again, of course, to Skip Ewing for joining us today, and all the links are in the show notes. Thanks, of course, to Mike Hansen for all the music and production as ever. And of course, to Antonol. And if you'd like a discount on your purchase of Antonol, just use my discount code. It's really simple. It's just Anna Webb. And if you haven't already, why don't you subscribe? Because that way you'll never miss another show. Bye for now.